So Mark Waid and Richard C. Meyer have competing GoFundMes. Meyer's raised $120,000 so far, and Wade's raised $81,000. Congratulations to both. Waid had his comment section open for a while, and he said he wouldn't delete the comments because he wanted to show people what everyone was saying. So turns out he did delete the comments, but I screen capped them because they were so classic. This is a drawing by Scotty, I guess. It's Wade with a hammer and sickle hat with his hat out and his hand out. This is just a beautiful drawing. I don't know who actually drew it, but I'll give credit to Scotty. Matthew says, Mark Waid, you committed an illegal act called tortious interference. You have no moral high ground here and have misused GoFundMe to pay for your illegal activities. I think it's a civil wrong, not a criminal wrong, but close enough. Shogo says, not a rich man lives in Santa Monica, California. Diane says, comicsgate is a hate group. I'd like to see some evidence of that. Charles says, Mark Waid is a bully and a liar and a whiny man-child. He decided because of his opinion about Richard Meyer that he should have the right to interfere with Antarctic Press and Meyer's business. He made the decision to call and hound Antarctic Press until they broke contract with Meyer. That's called tortious interference, and it's a crime. He is not a hero to anyone. Damien says, there's so many false descriptors here that I'm surprised the rest of Mark's head fur didn't instantly catch on fire. Shogo says, Comicsgate and Move the Needle is the only thing driving sales in the comic industry now. That and 31 variant covers on a garbage #1 issue. I can see why you call yourself a poor man, Wade. No one is buying any of your books because no one is interested in listening to your preaching. Yeah, that about sums it up. Heidi says, Mark Waid is the best thing to happen to the comic book industry in the last 30 years. Meyer is the opposite of that. What's more important, Waid is in the right here. Antarctic Press even said so themselves. We'll see. Stan, to people like Chance who are wondering, I'm quite happy to see these slanderous comic pros flush their money down the toilet if that turns out to be the case. What I don't like to see is struggling fans paying for Mark Santa Monica Wade's bad behavior. It annoys me to see anyone being grifted, even if I think they're being dumb. And to Heidi, even if that person was authorized to speak on behalf of Antarctic Press, which I'm pretty sure they weren't, they also admit that Mark, give me your noodle money so I don't have to spend my riches, Wade, was part of the reason they breached their agreement with Richard Meyer. There's probably a good reason he's asking for the exact amount as the damages claimed against him. Actually, he asked for $75,000, which is a civil procedural issue. It's a way to get into federal court. Federal courts are limited jurisdictions courts, and they have subject matter jurisdiction over constitutional issues and diversity jurisdiction when the parties are citizens. The parties are diverse. They're from different states and whatnot, and the amount in controversy is up to $75,000 right now. Thomas says, it's remarkable how many people are willing to shill out money to a millionaire comic book writer to help him fight a lawsuit he brought down on himself when they could have been spending that cash on comics. Thomas, you make a great point. Oh, and in case you guys didn't hear, one of Wade's business partners just came forward and had some interesting things to say about the sort of person he is. Check out the article on Bounding Into Comics. BoundingIntoComics.com is a great website. Aaron Cook, Comicsgate is a hate group. Press F to doubt. Timothy, do you all realize this Fund Me campaign violates GoFundMe terms of service? Read Section 8 of what is not allowed by GoFundMe's restrictions. You are funding someone under investigation for potential crime. I don't think that's true. Rick, the comments from the Comicsgate crowd have really helped encourage people to donate. Keep up the good work, you sad little virgins. Well, Waid has raised $80,000, and Meyer has raised $120,000 plus the funds. that Renfamous doxed someone donated like $10,000 or $11,000. Renfamous doxed them, and the person got phone calls at work and phone calls at home. Really, really scummy behavior. And the thing about the virgins, it's such an odd insult. Most of these people are married with kids. It's just kind of childish. Eric. Michael, he is being sued and asking for money. However, he has not accurately represented why he's being sued. This page leads one to believe he's being sued for defending women and minorities. That's only true in his mind. He's being sued because he allegedly committed tortious interference and interfered with a business contract between Meyer and Antarctic Press. Is it true? That's up to the judge. Still, it makes no difference. He's misleading people into thinking that this money is going to be helping protect women and minorities. It won't. It's going to help Mark Waid pay legal expenses after being accused of committing a crime. Civil wrongdoing, not a crime. Max, with a guitar icon, says, Waid is a garbage person who destroys people's lives. Read this before supporting. This is by Shannon Pierce Outlaw. Do I read it? Yes, I guess I will. I've gone back and forth on this very personal post, but I'm seething with so much rage I have to let it out. I'm done pretending that it didn't happen. The NDA, non-disclosure agreement, has been up for years, and I never had to sign a thing. F. Mark Waid. This man got into business with us. He created a partnership for the comic book store that was never technically legalized. When his POS girlfriend decided she wanted Jason gone, he sided with her knowing it was wrong. When it got bad and we finally lawyered up, we were told, do you have tens of thousands of dollars? Because he does, and he's going to drag this out in course. We can win, and we will, but that's what you're going to owe in fees. Can you cover that? Because he can. I know his lawyer, and he's giddy at the prospect. More than tens of thousands of dollars. It could cost $100,000 or more. We let the store go. 10 years of my best friend's life was gone. 10 years of hard work realizing the dream was ripped away from him. And to add insult to injury, he left that store with $150K in annual sales, $100K in product and fixtures, and Mark paid him less than $5,000 to shut his mouth and walk away. That was our reality. A rich, recognized, wealthy white man wanted more and took it. Robbed the little guy, smeared his name, took his business, and then a year later broke up with the girlfriend and signed it all over to her like it didn't even happen. He ran, literally, flew across the country and ran from his problems. He throws money around, or he runs and hides. Mark Waid, my name is Amanda. I am a 30-year-old comic book fan from Scotland. 6 years ago, I ran afoul of Dan Slott and Stephen Wacker when I was critical of Slott's take on Black Cat and Spider-Man on a message board. They began stalking me on the forum and telling me to F off or insisting that I was a virgin who lives in his mom's basement. When I proved that claim to be false 8 individual times, that's an interesting turn of phrase. Their aggression quickly extended to and wound up mostly targeting my husband, who also posted on the forum. Really, though, they were chump change. They were sad little trolls who were never able to deal with any criticism, and as soon as they found out I was actually a woman, they were completely lost with how to deal with it. So they instead slandered my husband across multiple different websites and got him banned from forums, comic book resources, Crawlspace, Comic Vine, articles and write-ups on websites I'd contributed to, comment sections. They insisted we were racist and sexist and the stuff that's seen as the usual guff now. They apparently got bored of it after a few months, but along the way it introduced Mark Waid to us. Mark Waid spent the next 2 years taking what had before just been an online campaign to further levels. He saw no investment or actual interaction with either me or my husband. He saw it and got involved just because he obviously liked the idea of attacking people with accusations that made him look like a moral hero. He and some followers got my husband fired from a job and kicked out of university only a few months before graduation, with enormous claims that we were bigots. He and others harassed our Facebook friends, insisting they explain why they were friends with us and spreading completely unfounded claims of me and my husband being white nationalists. He would cite a false made-up example when asked for evidence. He wouldn't provide any and instead pull out an even bigger made-up story to draw attention away from the first. We eventually had to nuke all our personal accounts. Both our lives were effectively ruined. My husband was unemployable and feeling like a burden, attempted to kill himself 3 times. I had now wasted years studying, amassing student debt with no actual results, and had to work 3 different jobs. Chris says, hard pass on this. The unmitigated gall to act like Waid is innocent in this kerfluffle is hilarious. Mark appears to have a history of being an angry antagonist, and anyone who is familiar with how he acts when he doesn't get his way can attest to this. If you want to pay for a wealthy man's legal fees because you like his comics, that's your business. But this is happening because he inserted himself into a business arrangement of someone he didn't like. I do not believe he is a hero to the weak. I believe he is a very angry person who hastily picks fights and only publicly virtue signals his heroic intentions while never actually accepting any responsibility for being a rude jerk. Plenty of links to back this up. Then again, it's your money to waste. Some people waste their money backing crowdfunding projects. Okay. Trevor says, if you support this, knowing of his tortious interference with Richard C. Meyer and Antarctic Press, you are fundamentally a bad person. Even if you hate diversity in comics, he changed his name to something like Comics Matter. You cannot support this and be in the right, because everything Waid did was in the wrong legally and morally. This man is no hero. He doesn't stand up for the weak. He keeps them under his boot. He doesn't care about women. He doesn't care about people of color. He doesn't care about the LGBTQ plus community. He only uses them as weapons for his own gain. This is an evil man who needs to learn that he doesn't get to ruin other people's livelihoods. Not anymore. Here's how Mark Waid treats women, people of color when he's not on camera. Bounding into a comics article from 2018, October 26, 2018. Mark Waid accused of abusive behavior and poor business practices by former business partner. Max says, Rick is all for the rich white men destroying the livelihood of POC independent business owners. Good to know. Yeah, the funny thing about Mark Waid is allegedly he... the first instance was interfering with Antarctic Press, is an Asian-owned business, and then allegedly he did something to it. That comic book store that he was involved in was also owned by a POC. So he's on the left, but he has a weird history of harassment, allegedly. Matt says, Mark rules, Richard drools. Rick says, every time Trevor and Andrew post, Mark gets another couple $100 in donations. Sad to see Mark Waid become such a villain. Well, look at that. The who's who lineup of people I should never buy products from again. Mark Waid is an ideological bully, a coward, and broke the law by committing tortious interference. Did I mention that he broke the law? Another one of hero Mark Waid victims. Why is it that he primarily targets women and people of color to bully and harass like this? The answer is, if you're on the right or anywhere right of center, you're dead to them. You lose whatever protected status you might have had by being either a moderate or right of center. Neil says, I oppose hate and support genuine comics artists. Well, so do I. Anyway, this is I made the first video, and it was low definition, and you couldn't read the text. And this one's high definition, so I think you can read the text.